Hello and welcome to another episode of Don't Know, Ask Father Touzeau. As you can see, we're in a different location. We're in our sacristy. And what I want to do is explain something that happened this past Tuesday on the solemnity of the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary. This larger celebrant's host, it had fallen on the floor when the altar server was setting the altar. Now, I didn't see it, so I just went back to the sacristy. I came back in here to get a new one. Okay, I came back and I put it down, and what happened was a parishioner did notice that the host was on the ground. And so they were pointing it out to me. So I looked and found it. And what I did was I just came back, I handed it to the server and had her place it on the table. And then I went on with Mass. Now the question then is, if the host was left on the floor, under the altar, during Mass and the consecration, would it have been consecrated? Quick answer is no, it would have not. When a priest is consecrating the bread and the wine, what matters is his intention in his mind. So usually we have a corporal, and on it we place, it's just a square piece of cloth, and on it we place the paten with the host, chalice with a wine and a little bit of water, okay, and possibly another ciborium with more hosts in it for the congregation. And in a situation when we're celebrating Mass, we have in our mind that we're going to consecrate what's on this corporal. So on this paten, in this chalice, in this ciborium. That's what is in our mind. This is what I'm going to consecrate, say for a small Mass. Okay. Now, for a larger Mass, that's why I have this set up over here. Another corporal with more ciborium and a chalice with wine. So we have more bread and wine to be consecrated. Okay, so then the priest, then its intention would be, I'm going to consecrate what's on this corporal and what's on this corporal. And that is what would be consecrated for the Mass. So the intention is to consecrate both corporals. And that's the important thing, what's in the priest's mind, his intention, what to consecrate. So the host that had fallen to the floor would not have been consecrated. However, once it is consecrated, it becomes the body and blood of Christ and should be treated accordingly. So that is why when a consecrated host, say a small one that a parishioner would receive, if it falls on the floor, the parishioner should pick it up immediately and consume it. Now, if they don't feel comfortable consuming one that's been fallen on the floor, they can hand it to the priest and receive another. Now, the priest may either consume it himself or dispose of it properly. And so to dispose of a consecrated host properly, here are the steps. Now, like I said, the priest could consume it himself, or if they didn't feel comfortable receiving one that had fallen on the floor, what they would do is dissolve it in water. So the easiest way probably would be to break this up. We have a little thing of water here, and we let it dissolve completely to the point where it doesn't look like bread anymore. And then it can be poured into our sacrarium. The sacrarium is a sink, and we have one here in our sacristy. And in that sink, the drain goes to the ground, not into the sewer or to a septic tank. And that's important because we want it to go directly into the ground, not where anybody could step on it or somehow accidentally do something, because we still believe that is Christ's body and blood. It has to be disposed of properly. That is the proper way to dispose of it. Now, an example of a situation where you would not want to consume the host is this. We said falling on the floor. Perhaps it's dirty and with germs and diseases. But also perhaps someone receives it and then they, for some reason, they spit it out. And it comes and it falls on the floor. And that one you definitely would not want to consume yourself. So we would take a purificator, pick it up, and again, dispose of it properly by letting it dissolve in water and then pouring down the sacrarium. Okay, that brings up another very important question. What happens if a sacred host is not disposed of properly? Now, our canon law states, number 1367, One who throws away the consecrated species or for a sacrilegious purpose takes them or keeps them incurs a lete senche excommunication reserved to the apostolic see. A cleric, such as a priest, moreover, may be punished with some other penalty which could include dismissal from the clerical state. So it's a very, very serious thing to not dispose of it properly or to use it for a sinister purpose. Now, so he or she who knows it is wrong, throws away a consecrated host, or uses it in another degrading method, is automatically excommunicated from the church. There's no trial, there's no automatically, because that is such a grievous thing to do, they're automatically excommunicated. Now, the only way to have this egregious and mortal sin lifted and forgiven is through the Holy See itself. Only the Pope can forgive that sin. So, a person would go to confession. They would ask the priest, confess this sin, but they'd have to ask the priest to contact the Holy See to get their permission. They would forgive it and tell the priest, yes, it's been forgiven. That person would have to come back to the confessional to receive absolution. So, it's a serious thing. Now, another thing to note, a person who doesn't know that they were committing a sin by disposing of the sacred host improperly, then a sin is not committed. Another little bit of trivia just to add on to the end of this. Now, there are other sins that only the Pope can forgive. Now, there are 5. 1, desecration of the Eucharist, as we just discussed. Physically striking or causing harm to the Pope. Only the Pope can forgive that. A priest who violates the seal of confession. Only the Pope can forgive that. A priest who absolves an accomplice in the sin against the 6th commandment. And finally, a bishop who ordains another bishop without the permission of the Pope. I hope you're all preparing yourselves well this Advent season and that you're keeping safe during this pandemic. May God bless you.